Let's talk about gift offers. Kukla argues that gift offers are one of the important discursive tools that we use within ethical sexual encounters, and that they're one of the important discursive tools that serves to enable and support sexual agency. So we're going to go through how gift offers work in general, then we'll look at sexual gift offers, and finally, we'll look at how gift offers function within ethical sexual encounters. Okay, so gift offers in general. They're basically what they sound like. It is when one person offers another person a gift. Okay, so even though we all are more or less familiar with the idea of gift giving, our actual practices of giving and exchanging, receiving gifts have all kinds of norms and conventions built into them, such that if a person isn't following this kind of criteria or these conventions, they aren't actually participating in the practice of gift giving. So, first of all, gifts must be chosen with the recipient in mind. So they are designed or constructed to please the person who's receiving the gift. That's the whole point, is that the point of a gift is to do something nice for another person. See, if anyone has ever had the experience of receiving a gift that just has absolutely nothing to do with your interests or your life or you as a person, it feels kind of weird, right? Now, this is a little bit different from somebody who tried really hard to get you a good gift. You can see that they tried and they just kind of missed the mark. But if somebody gives you a gift that, again, has just no relation to you whatsoever, it often doesn't really feel like they did something nice for you, right? It doesn't feel the same way that a well-chosen gift might feel. And that is because they're not really engaging in the actual practice of gift giving. So gifts need to be selected or designed with the recipient in mind, right? They need to be tailored to the person who is receiving that gift. Gifts also need to be freely given. It's not actually a gift if the person giving the gift isn't freely choosing to give that gift. So we've got all kinds of other sorts of we have all kinds of practices that sort of go by the name of gift giving, but if people are forced to participate in them, it's not really giving gifts. So let's see here. If you have ever been part of an office or a school gift exchange where everyone is required to participate in it, it's not really gift giving because it's not freely entering into this practice of giving someone a gift. Instead, you are being required to give someone else some objects or some things, right? But it's not an actual set of gifts being exchanged. So they need to be designed with the recipient in mind, and the person giving the gift needs to be freely choosing to enter into this practice. Now, if somebody does offer you a gift, generally speaking, it's appropriate to accept it. It's inappropriate to just say, no, and walk away from somebody holding, like a wrapped package with a bow. You can decline a gift, but there needs to be sufficient reason to do so, right? So you might say like, oh, this is too much, I just can't accept this, right? If someone gives like a very extravagant gift, or this is so thoughtful, unfortunately, I just bought this for myself, right? So maybe turning down the gift because, again, like it's redundant. But in general, there needs to be a reason to turn down the gift. And if you don't do that, right, if you don't either have sufficient reason or accept the gift, it's a norm violation. And there's a kind of repair work that then needs to be done. If somebody offers you a gift, it's also appropriate to express gratitude for the gift offer. Say, oh, thank you so much. Even if you, in fact, are declining the gift, you might say something like, oh, gosh, thank you. This is so thoughtful. That was so kind of you. I can't accept it, right? So it's appropriate to express gratitude when being offered a gift. Next, our practices of gift giving build in an element of reciprocity. Okay, so what this means is that if, your friend gives you a gift, then at some point in time, it's appropriate to give them a gift in return. Now, gifts can be all kinds of different things. We don't want to be thinking about just material objects, right? So you might, do something particularly kind or nice for them. You might set aside an entire day just to do whatever it is that they want to do. There are lots and lots of different ways that we can structure and design gifts for people. They don't always need to be material things. And it's not actually about like the monetary value of what it is that you're giving in return. Though it is important that gifts be roughly commensurate with one another. What that means is they should be like roughly the same kind of level or size of thing. So if your friend buys you your favorite iced coffee, it would be strange and kind of inappropriate to then buy them a car in return. Okay, so our practices of gift giving build in this reciprocity feature, which means that, again, it should be going back and forth. If there is one person in, say, a friendship who is always giving their friend gifts and the friend never gives gifts in return, that shows some problems or maybe a breakdown in the relationship. At the same time, sometimes people go like over the top with their gift giving, and then sometimes you need to chime in and be like, this is a little too much, let's tone it down, right? But the point is that it should be roughly kind of balanced in terms of giving and receiving gifts. And this is one of the ways that we actually cement relationships with one another. Once again, gifts don't have to be about material objects. It's not about the monetary value. It's about showing that you were thinking about the other person, that you were trying to do something to make them happy, to bring them some joy, to please them, to do something nice for them, right? That this is one of the features of relationships, whether we're talking about sexual or romantic relationships, or we're talking about friendships or different kinds of family relationships. One of the ways that we show that we are thinking about and caring for the other person is through this practice of gift giving. Okay, so gift giving is, in general, an important feature of our social world. Now let's look at how sexual gift offers work. Just like regular gift offers, sexual gift offers are designed to please the recipient. Right? So a sexual gift offer might be something like, doing a particular sex act or activity that you know the other person like really enjoys. Like they just like really enjoy this particular kind of sensation or role play or experience, right? And so setting up either a scene, it could be like an entire scene, or it can be, just a particular kind of interaction or activity that is designed to bring pleasure to the other person. This might involve, exploring fantasies or desires, or it might involve, say, going down on the other person if that's something that they particularly like. So, sexual gift offers are designed to please the recipient, just like regular gift offers. This is why Kukla says that sexual gift offers are typically only possible and also really only appropriate within the context of some kind of ongoing relationship. Now, that doesn't mean that sexual gift offers can only occur within the context of like a marriage or something like that, right? So that ongoing relationship might be, an ongoing sexual and or romantic relationship. It might be an ongoing, friendship that involves, periodic like sexual interactions. Whatever it is, the point is that you need to know the person well enough to know what might please them. Otherwise, you can't craft a gift offer with them in mind. So you just need to know the person in order to offer them a sexual gift. So sexual gift offers are difficult when first getting to know someone. This is why we primarily use things like invitations at that stage. We continue to use invitations after knowing someone for a long time. But right at the beginning of getting to know someone, it's more typical to say, here's what I am interested in. Would you like to do that with me? Then, once you have learned what a person is sexually interested in, or gets a great deal of pleasure from, or is curious about exploring, once you have that knowledge, then you can begin to craft sexual gift offers for them. Okay, so you need to know the person well enough to know what might please them in order to offer sexual gifts. This is why Kukla writes that, and this is my single favorite line in everything. This is why Kukla writes that unsolicited dick pics are typically not appropriate gifts. Now, to be very clear here, sexual images and sending nudes can be delightful and wonderful and lovely if you know that the person would like to receive them. Notice that word unsolicited in the point that Kukla makes. If you don't know that somebody would like to receive these kinds of sexual images, this is not a successful or appropriate gift. Instead, you are just forcing somebody into a sexual context without their knowledge or consent. Not great. Okay, so unsolicited dick pics, terrible gifts. Just like with other kinds of gift offers, sexual gift offers must be freely given. It is not actually a gift if somebody is pressured or coerced into offering it. And importantly, if somebody is being pressured or coerced into offering a sexual gift offer, then things are going importantly badly, and it is unlikely that this interaction is consensual. Okay, so in order for it to be a sexual gift offer, it must be freely given, it must be designed to please the recipient. Now, we get to where sexual gift offers are different from other kinds of gift offers. Because unlike typical gift offers, sexual gift offers can be declined with no reason or residue or norm violation. If, say, you get home and a partner says, I know how much you love wax play, and the candles are out and waiting, and are you into it? You just don't have to accept it, right? So this might be absolutely your thing. It might be something that you are normally like pumped about sexual interactions involving hot wax. But at this particular moment, you might reply with, I'm hungry and I just really want dinner. Or I'm just not feeling it right now, right? So there doesn't need to be a good enough reason to decline a sexual gift offer. They can be declined at any time for any reason without any kind of norm violation or any kind of residue. Similarly, you needn't express gratitude when being offered a sexual gift. If somebody sends you an unsolicited dick pic, you do not need to reply with, wow, thank you for this very thoughtful gift. Although you might if you're being really sarcastic. Instead, even if it is a well-chosen, thoughtful gift, you don't have to be grateful for receiving it. You might express gratitude for like, I can tell you put a lot of thought into this and that was really kind, but you just don't have those sorts of obligations to express gratitude in the context of receiving or being offered a sexual gift. Okay. So, sexual gift offers are different from gift offers in general in that they don't require expressing gratitude for being offered a sexual gift, and they don't require that the recipient either accept it or have like sufficient reason to turn it down. These are the important differences. But that last feature about the element of reciprocity built into our practices of gift giving and gift receiving, that piece stays the same even when talking about sexual gift offers. In fact, this is a really crucial and important element of sexual gift offers. However, this is a point that people sometimes feel, maybe uncomfortable with or might have some concerns about. So we're going to explore it in much more detail. And I think the importance of the element of reciprocity when thinking about sexual gift offers becomes particularly clear when we start to look at how gift offers serve to enable sexual agency and the role that they play within ethical sexual interactions. Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, I think the reason people often have kind of concerns about this reciprocity feature of gift offers is they're thinking that it kind of imposes an obligation on the person who receives the gift to maybe engage in or perform certain kinds of sexual acts or activities. And that is properly an uncomfortable idea, right? So there properly should not be an obligation ever to engage in one particular kind of sexual act, right? It's not something that can be imposed upon another person. In order for an interaction to be consensual, it needs to be something that a person has chosen to enter into, and they need to be able to change their mind at any time. Cool. Okay, so that's not what this feature of reciprocity is actually doing. Let's get into it. So if somebody is being pressured or coerced to engage in a particular kind of sexual activity or perform a particular kind of sex act, first of all, this would be very bad. Once again, this does not seem to be a consensual sexual interaction. That's the most important part. But also, related to that, is that if somebody is pressured into performing a particular kind of sexual act, it would not be a gift offer because it's not freely given. Right? So it's already not part of the practice of gift giving. So gifts must be freely given. Somebody can, receive a particular sexual gift and decide, you know what, I don't want to engage with this person anymore. That is perfectly fine. And by breaking off that relationship, they're also not going to be participating in the practice of giving and receiving sexual gifts. Similarly, if somebody receives a sexual gift and decides, you know what, I really like this person, but I want to just stay friends. No more sex. Cool. Once again, they are no longer engaging in the practice of giving and receiving sexual gifts. If somebody receives a sexual gift and is like, that was great, let's keep this up, and they never give sexual gifts in return, seems like it's a pretty imbalanced kind of relationship. Seems like things might be maybe not so great within the context of that sexual relationship. So we're going to keep exploring that idea. But first, I want to be clear about this point. If somebody is engaging in the practice of giving and receiving sexual gifts, that doesn't mean that they have to give any particular kind of sexual gift or that they have to participate in any particular sexual act or sexual interaction. So let's think about non-sexual gifts for a moment. So, let's go on. So I happen to be vegan. I've been vegan for, I don't know, a very long time at this point. No matter how much my partner loves fancy smoked meats, I am not required to give them meat as a gift, right? It might be their most favorite thing ever, but I still have no obligation to give them this particular kind of gift. And in fact, I would not do so because giving somebody like a piece of an animal that I played a role in having be killed, like that just sounds wildly awkward and uncomfortable to me. Like that's just not something that I am comfortable doing. Although again, everyone should design their own eating practices and habits in ways that work for them. There are lots of reasons to do all different kinds of practices. But it's just not a gift that I am, again, like that I would give to somebody. And that's fine. Even if it's my partner's like most favorite thing, there are probably other things that they would also be delighted by, right? And so I can give them other kinds of gifts that I am comfortable offering to them. Though here I will note that if somebody, finds that there just are no gifts that they would be comfortable offering to their partners, then that probably warrants having a larger conversation within the context of that sexual relationship or whatever the relationship is. If there's no overlap in what one person finds joy or delight in and what another person is comfortable doing, then yeah, that probably warrants like a large-scale conversation about what's going on within this relationship. So there's no obligation to offer any kind of sexual gift that one is uncomfortable with or doesn't want to do, right? So that's incredibly important. Once again, gift offers must be freely given, and this is particularly crucial within the context of sexual gift offers. However, this element of reciprocity is really important because what reciprocity does is it serves as a way to maintain some kind of equity within the relationship. And also it serves as a way to sort of balance whose needs and pleasure is being centered or prioritized. Now, because of the nature of like linear time, you can't do everything all at the exact same time, right? So it might be the case that one person's sexual pleasure is being prioritized at this particular moment, and then a couple minutes later, it'll be another person's sexual pleasure or enjoyment that might be prioritized. Or it might be spread out, like on one day, they might set up a particular scene or kind of activity that one person particularly loves, and then on another day might focus on exploring the fantasies or desires of another person within that relationship. I think that when we think about it this way, the reciprocity element of gift offers, not only does it become less uncomfortable to folks, but actually becomes incredibly beautiful and lovely. So sort of a more common way of framing it, although this isn't quite right, but this is really similar to the idea of why it's important to be a generous lover, right? So not just always centering your own sexual pleasure, but also recognizing and attending to the pleasure and enjoyment of the person or persons you are having sexual interactions with, right? So unfortunately, it is fairly common to hear, especially from folks who have clitorises or vaginas, that their sexual pleasure is often ignored, or that when it's considered, it's sort of either treated as being in second place, or it's treated as if like their partner is doing them this giant earth-shattering favor by being like, and you got to have an orgasm, after the other person had just received like multiple orgasms, right? So in our current practices, there often is a great deal of imbalance in terms of whose sexual desires or pleasure gets prioritized or attended to, particularly within the context of heterosexual relationships. This reciprocity element is a way of recognizing how shitty that is, and it gives us a framework for thinking about how we could structure sexual interactions in a better way. So let's think about what that means here. So gift offers are what are called an other regarding action. What that means is that they are something that we do for somebody else, right? We do it for someone else's sake, for their happiness or enjoyment or their well-being, perhaps. So if we think about the practice of wearing a mask when you go out in public during a global pandemic, one of the crucial reasons to be wearing a mask is to protect other people's health and safety, right? So it does something to protect your own health and safety, but you're primarily doing it for other people's sake, out of respect or regard for or concern for other people, right? So it's what's called an other regarding action. Now, these are crucially important actions in society in general, but especially within the context of like relationships. If you are never thinking about the other person, it's not really a robust relationship. If you are never considering the needs or values or priorities or well-being of another person, then that's not really much of a friendship or a sexual relationship or a romantic relationship, right? It's also not great when there is a social practice of not thinking about other people's needs. So other regarding actions are important, and they're often just wonderful and lovely. But sexual gift offers, as a kind of other regarding act, can be a way to demonstrate care for the other person's enjoyment or happiness or pleasure. Very importantly, though, sexual gift offers are not the only way to demonstrate care or regard for another person. It'd be creepy and inappropriate if it were. Sometimes assholes will try and use that kind of reasoning and will say something like, well, if you really cared about me, then you would want to do this for me. They are being an asshole. It's shitty, and that kind of statement or reasoning can very quickly slide into being abusive. Rather, sexual gifts are one way to demonstrate care or regard within the context of a relationship. They are not the only way. So if this is a kind of interaction that one feels happy and comfortable engaging in, cool. If it is not a kind of interaction that somebody feels happy and comfortable engaging in, cool, right? It is by no means a requirement. That's important. However, when we start to look at the ways in which sexual gift offers can serve this function of demonstrating regard for another person, by which I just mean like recognizing them as a person, right? Just like a person who has their own inner life and desires and happinesses and thoughts and existence. When we recognize sexual gift offers as one of the ways that we demonstrate that kind of regard, that puts us in a position to be able to understand some of the ways that sexual interactions can sometimes go badly. Here I'm not talking about violations of consent, but rather just some of the not great moments that sometimes occur. Sometimes the different kinds of sexual acts or activities can start to feel like a kind of transaction. So somebody might do a particular kind of sexual act on you. You might get a great deal of enjoyment from it. Like, this was great. They're really attending to my pleasure and well-being and enjoyment. I am living my best life. This is awesome. But then afterwards, it slowly becomes very clear that they now expect you to, quote unquote, return the favor, right? So they might expect you to then perform that same act on them in return. Now, this isn't great for a couple of reasons. One is it's exerting pressure on someone to perform a particular kind of sexual act or activity. Not great. But two, it changes the dynamic of what it was that was just happening. You now have a new piece of information and can reinterpret what was going on when the other person was performing that particular kind of sexual act. And now you can see that it wasn't happening as a way to attend to your pleasure. They were doing it so that you would then do the same thing to them, right? So that it sets up the sexual interactions, the sexual acts, as a kind of transaction. I'll do this to you, then you do this to me. Now, to be very clear, transactional sexual interactions, or these kinds of mirroring sexual interactions, can be lovely and wonderful if everybody knows that's the kind of interaction they are entering into. People set it up and say, hey, we both would like to have some orgasms right now. I will give you a hand job if you then give me a hand job. Sound good? And the other person's like, yeah, it sounds great. Let's do it. Right? You can see how that is giving people agency to enter into the interaction, right? They know what they're entering into. They have enough information. But if you think that you're entering into a sexual interaction that is maybe more intimate, and I'm using that term very broadly here, right? But if you think you're entering into a sexual interaction where you aren't being used merely as a means to the person's desire to experience sexual pleasure, if you think you're entering into an interaction that, involves being seen or recognized as a person, it can be pretty disorienting and can feel like this particular kind of violation when you realize that's not the kind of interaction you're having. Now, importantly, that doesn't mean it was a violation of consent, but it can feel like it can be an important violation of, trust or respect, right? And this is a way that sexual interactions can and do go badly. This is why we need to think about more than just the mere presence or absence of consent, right? So consent, always, crucially, foundationally important, but it's not enough on its own to enable ethical and agential sexual interactions. This brings us to the final, and in many ways most important, point about the role of sexual gift offers within ethical and agential sexual interactions. Now, sexual agency is about being able to craft one's own sexual narrative and about being able to explore the fantasies or desires that one might have. But we often can't do that alone. And if one has sexual fantasies or desires that involve other people, then this is just obviously especially the case, right? Necessarily, it involves other people's consent and ongoing and collaborative participation and engagement in order to explore those sorts of desires. Well, sexual gift offers are one way to support someone else's sexual agency. In addition to being designed to bring one's partner pleasure, sexual gift offers can be a way to enable them to explore those sorts of desires or fantasies. This means that if there's something your partner is very interested in, but y'all haven't gotten to try it yet, or maybe you just don't get to do it very often for whatever reason, then you might craft a sexual gift offer around that kind of experience, specifically as a way to support their sexual agency in exploring or experiencing that kind of fantasy. As always, this does not mean doing something you're uncomfortable with or that you dislike. But let's see here. Maybe you and your partner or partners went through one of those yes, no, maybe sexual stock lists together, and maybe now you're selecting something from that list. There might be something on there that your partner is really excited by or interested in, and which you're like perfectly fine with. Like you'll probably get pleasure from it. It just doesn't happen to be your fantasy. You wouldn't necessarily seek it out on your own, but it is your partner's fantasy. So you might offer them this sexual gift as a way of supporting their sexual agency, as a way of enabling them to experience this kind of fantasy or sensation or, whatever that kind of sexual interaction might be. This can be an important way to validate that their desires are significant and valuable and worthy of pursuing. And within ethical and agential sexual interactions, at some point they will, in turn, support you in the same way.